Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, what you're going to be listening to is not so much a hypnosis session, but a summary of 3 key reasons when hypnotherapy can be very useful. And part of the reason that I'm doing this is that I think sometimes people don't know when is the right time to see a hypnotherapist. And the reason I know that to be the case is because the vast majority of people will seek out a hypnotherapist when they've tried everything else. They've literally tried everything else. So then hypnotherapy becomes an element of a last resort. So they've, whatever the issue is, it might be trying to quit smoking. So they might try nicotine replacement gums and patches or vapes and that kind of stuff. Or if it's weight loss, they'll try slimming clubs and fad diets and all that kind of stuff. And it really reaches a point where a lot of money, a lot of time has been wasted. And then they kind of create this belief system or thinking of, well, I've tried everything else, so there's nothing else to lose at this point. And there's an element of usefulness to that because it can help do what hypnotherapists call get people to the point of threshold. But equally, it's a big waste of resources if it could have been one of the early things to try rather than the last thing to try. So what I'm going to do is highlight 3 key ways or triggers to actually use hypnosis and evaluate whether or not you even would benefit from hypnosis. So the first thing to look at really, as I would call a trigger, is what we would label a problem or an issue. So if you are struggling with something and you have got that problem, you have got that issue, then first of all, it's really useful to define it. Now, I would say this kind of depends on what area of your life you're thinking of, but a good way to define a problem or an issue is that life isn't as you want it to be. Your behaviors, your thoughts aren't as you want them to be. So for example, if you feel that you can't travel because you've got anxiety at either the idea of or the behavior of traveling, well, then that's a problem because you don't want to feel that way if you're flying or if you're in, let's say, enclosed vehicles. You don't want to feel that way, and therefore it's a problem that you feel that way. So a useful thing to do is to look at these areas of your life. And what most people tend to do when they have a problem, because as humans we're quite resourceful most of the time, is instead of solving the problem, we just find a way of coping with it or figuring out how to live life without needing that. So, for example, if you have a fear of public speaking, or if you feel that you can't lose weight, it may be the case that you just haven't looked for opportunities that would require public speaking, or you don't even attempt to go for promotions where that might be a consequence. And if it's weight loss and you feel that you can't lose weight anymore, maybe you've just got used to buying bigger and bigger size of clothing. So if these are coping mechanisms that you can see in yourself, or the equivalent of how you're dealing with other issues, it might be worth considering, what would you do differently if you just didn't have that issue to begin with? What could it enable you to do? So trigger 1 is to figure out, is there a problem or is there an issue? Okay, so that's trigger kind of evaluation number one. Evaluation number two is what's known as intrusive thoughts. Okay, now intrusive thoughts are thoughts that you don't choose to think about, but they come in anyway. And as humans, we all have these intrusive thoughts. We all do. We have thoughts that pop into our head randomly. Some are just crazy. Some are just fun, silly, imagination drifting, memories come in and go and that kind of stuff. That in and of itself isn't an issue. Where it becomes an issue is if there is a high level of emotional intensity connected to those intrusive thoughts. And quite often, if that is the case, that can be quite distressing, or depending on what the emotion is, it can cause anger, it can cause anxiety, it can cause stress. So if you're thinking about your life right now and you're thinking, you know what, I do have these kind of triggers. These triggers might be intrusive thoughts, or it might be things that happen around you that then trigger a subconscious thought that you're not even aware of, that then creates an emotional response. And if that's happening, well, then the key question to ask is it detrimental to the quality of your life? These, let's say, compulsive thoughts, intrusive thoughts, or kind of emotional triggers. And if it isn't giving you the level quality of life that you want, then it's worth thinking, well, maybe you'd rather not have that, in which case that's a very good reason to see a hypnotherapist that can help you with that particular issue, if that makes sense. So if we classify the first two categories of problems or issues, and we can call the second one triggers in a collective way, either thoughts or emotions, the third category is very different. The third category is more aspirational. And I would say more than 90% of people, when they seek out a hypnotherapist, they're finding them to solve a problem, to deal with an issue, or to deal with intrusive thoughts or a trigger. Very few will seek out a hypnotherapist because they've got a clear idea of the future that they want to have, an aspirational future, what in NLP terms we would call a compelling vision. Now, you can look at a problem and you can say, well, if this is the life that you want and it's worse off because of your problem, hypnotherapy can then rectify that so that you no longer have that problem anymore. Okay, and that's good. And actually that can completely transform people's lives if they don't have panic attacks or phobias or, addictions or whatever it might be. Just solving that problem can make a massive difference. But there is a level up from that as well. And the level up from that is to say, well, yes, it's good not to have a problem, but also what life do you want to have? What would be the compelling vision for your life? And then it might be that you don't currently have the beliefs and thinking strategies that will elevate you to that level of life. And that can relate to just general quality of your life. It could be business related, but it could also be financial. And one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of people is the attitudes, beliefs, reoccurring thoughts, emotional triggers, fears, when it comes to money and business and wealth and all things finance related. Quite often the reality that someone's living in is a reflection of the subconscious, let's say, collective. So all thoughts, fears, beliefs, all that kind of stuff at that subconscious level. They're not choices, but the financial reality. So if someone's financially successful, that's normally a reflection of their mindset. And if someone's financially struggling and they've got debts and they've got worries and fears and anxieties, that's also a reflection. Therefore, if you change the subconscious, that can then also change the trajectory to then change the reality of that individual. So 3 key things: problems, issues, triggers, thoughts and emotions, and then kind of the aspirational life, the dream life for you. So if you're listening to this and you can relate to any of those 3 areas, 2 key things that I would recommend that you do. First of all, check out my website, because you can see lots of information on who I am and how I work if you go to adamcox.co.uk. The second thing is that if you are curious to work with me, there is a link that's going to be close by to this that you can book a free 30-minute consultation call. And that 30-minute consultation call will enable you to have a conversation about what you would want to achieve. And then I can give you an idea as to whether or not hypnosis would actually work with that, but also how many sessions are likely to be required to get you to that desired outcome. As one final kind of bonus, and this is only if you've kind of listened this far that you'll be aware of that, and many people might have switched off at this point. So if you are listening, this is kind of like a hidden bonus for you. But there is a coupon code so that if you go on to book any sessions with me, now those sessions might be for one-to-one hypnotherapy sessions, or it might be for wealth coaching, for example. If you use the coupon code podcast, you will get a 20% reduction in that fee. Don't share that with anyone else. This is just for you to know, but it will reward you for being an active listener of the show, and also, for listening to this particular episode right to the end. So 20% discount on any one-to-one sessions with me if you use the coupon code podcast in the checkout when you buy the sessions online. I hope you found this useful. I appreciate it's not the standard hypnotherapy sessions that I normally do, but hopefully you found this useful. The key thing really, if you have a problem that is kind of psychological in nature, you don't have to keep it forever, and hypnosis is very effective for certain things, not all things, but a lot of things it can really help with. And also, if you're not living your compelling vision right now, potentially hypnosis can get you there faster. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you again soon on a future show.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.